Good afternoon, and welcome to the regular board meeting of the Sunshine Coast Regional District for November 27th, 2025. It's 1:02 p.m. I'd like to call this meeting to order and acknowledge that the Sunshine Coast Regional District is located within the traditional territories of the Shishal and Squamish nations. Directors, we do have an amended agenda in front of us today. Item 6.4 is inserted from earlier today, and item 7.1 under communications was inserted. Are there any other changes to the agenda? If not, may I have a motion to adopt, please? Moved and seconded. All those in favor? Thank you, that's carried. And Director Lee, I do see that you're online, as you were this morning. If I forget to call on you for any reason, please feel free to just jump in. All right. Thank you. Can I have a motion to receive all reports and communications, please? Moved, seconded. All those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. First up, item 3.1, which is the regular board meeting minutes of November 13th. Directors, are there any errors or omissions in there before we move to adopt? If not, may I have a motion to adopt, please? Moved, seconded. All those in favor? Thank you, that's carried. Is there any business arising from the minutes or unfinished business? Director Gabius.
Oh, thank you, Chair. Yeah, thanks for indulging me. I just want to take a couple of minutes to give a bit more context to the motion I put forward a couple of weeks back about deferring 3 FTE requests. And I realized that it was really rushed and there was not a lot of context given or rationale, so I felt like I needed to correct that today. Not pulling anything, not making any changes, just want to give a bit more, flesh out why I did that. And I just want to start by saying like why those 3 were picked, because I feel like it might have felt targeted to those 3, but really the first one, the technician, the one for infrastructure, was just, I did not pull that because we had already discussed at pre-budget about deferring and it had been voted down, so I felt I could not pull it again. And then the transit expansion requests were, going hand in hand with the transit expansion that we want to move forward, so didn't pull those either. And then the ones that the FTEs that are attached to specific project, I felt those would be a little complicated to get into that, and so those will be looked at around 1. But I also think like I feel like that kind of conversation should have happened at pre-budget, and I did not have that conversation then. But I think that would have been the appropriate time to do it and talk holistically, like at a higher level, looking at pre-budget, look at all the information that we have from staff, like where do we want to go from there, how are we comfortable with the what-if scenarios, with all the staffing requests and such, like, so that for me, like, that's something I want to, maybe at budget debrief, really, how do we have a more productive pre-budget conversation as a board would be important. And then I also want to say that in the last couple terms, like this organization has seen a lot of change and a lot of growth. Like the organization has, like, a lot of staffing was added, and that can be, growing so fast can be disruptive. And I feel like it's good to have a look now at how those changes, how those additions are working out, and then we're making some headway with corporate work plan. There's some good stuff happening there, so that's why I feel like deferring those requests to next year. I think like I want to see where we can go with this corporate work plan to see how we right-size this organization. So just wanted to kind of give some more context just for clarity. Thank you for indulging me.
Great, thank you for those comments. All right, directors, any other unfinished business from the minutes? If not, we will move on to item 6.1, which is Committee of the Whole meeting recommendations 1 through 6 for November 13th. Directors, are there any of those that you wish to pull for separate consideration before we endorse the block? This is starting on page 18 of the PDF file. If not, may I have a motion to endorse the block? Thank you, Director Bax, seconded by Director Gabius. Any discussion? All those in favor? And that is carried. Thank you. So we're going to move on to item 6.2, which is the Electoral Area Services meeting recommendations 1 through 8 for November 20th, 2025. Same question, just like before. Do directors wish to pull any of these for separate discussion? This is starting on page 21 of the PDF agenda. If not, can I have a motion to endorse the block, please? Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Any discussion at all? All those in favor? Thank you, that's carried. All right, and next up, item 6.3, Budget Committee Meeting Recommendations 1 through 9 for November 20th. Directors, do you wish to pull any for separate consideration? This is all of our rates and charges meeting that we had. I don't see any hands up. So can I have a motion to endorse the block, please? Moved, seconded by somebody, anybody? Thank you, Director Paul. I really try to refrain from, moving and seconding things when I'm chairing, but, I will if I have to. Any discussion on the motion to endorse or on the recommendations that are in the block? If not, I will call the question. All those in favor? And that is carried. Thank you. All right. Next up, we have item 6.4, which is the Committee of the Whole meeting recommendation number 6 from this morning. And directors, any questions, discussion? This is a participant weighted vote, EF and Town of Gibson's. So out of EF and Town of Gibson's, would anybody like to move the recommendation? Moved. Do I have a seconder from EF or Town of Gibson's? Seconded. Director White's not in the meeting now. I can't control that. So any discussion on the motion? All those in favor? Thank you. That's carried. All right. Next up, item 6.5, placement of notice on title. So this is starting on page 30 of our agenda package, and we'll turn this over to our chief building official.
Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon. Section 57 in the Community Charter authorizes the board to pass a resolution to have a corporate officer register a notice on the land title of a property where a condition with respect to a building contravenes a regional district bylaw. The action of registering a notice is intended to encourage compliance and a means of disclosure to protect future owners and other parties with an interest in the property. It is not intended to be punitive action. Today's report contains background information and recommendations for 3 properties where building contravention matters exist. All property owners have been notified of their opportunity to speak about the matter at today's meeting. Only the owner of property 1 has informed staff in advance of their intentions to be heard. Staff would be happy to try and answer any questions the board may have.
/Thank you very much. So we will look at these one property at a time. So first up, item number 1 is 12073/12077 Bryan Road in electoral area A. So my understanding is the property owner would like to address the board. So we will give them that opportunity.
Hello. Can you hear me okay?
We can hear you just fine. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to speak. My name is Nevin Sangan. I've owned the property at 12077 Bryan Road for over 20 years. We're part-time residents, but hope to retire one day and live at the property full-time. Just got to figure out how to retire. I'd like to start by saying I acknowledge the amendments we made to the house. There's no disputing that. The little brief history, and I'm only going to be short here. Brief history, we employ a few locals full-time and are always doing upgrades and maintenance on the property. We take a lot of pride in it. We have taken out permits to build other things on the property. A few years ago, we had a tree hit our house. This was the catalyst for us to submit a permit or an application for a permit for a new home. We were told our property was non-conforming, so we could not build a new house without eliminating some of the other structures. So we then applied for a renovation. And after visiting the planning department, we were told that we had to keep all the windows, doors, roof pitch, heights, etc. the same. So we submitted for a permit, and once we submitted the revised plan for renovation, everyone from the administration staff to the inspector told us all the works we're doing really didn't need a permit, but we were doing it more for a planning checklist. So we did the cosmetic reno that included a new roof, new siding, new flooring, new windows and doors, but we kept all the windows and doors in the exact same location as requested. We did not change the height. We did not change the site coverage. We did not increase the floor area. The only amendments were made, and I'm hoping you have this little simple sketch in front of you that I forwarded to the SCRD. Just a simple one pager, but if you have it in front of you, you can see the amendments we made. We turned the front gable roof to a shed roof. We extended the rear overhang to cover the deck for weather protection. We increased the size of the pier blocks below the deck post. They're in the exact same location. They're only a few inches bigger. They're quite shallow because they sit right on rock. The whole house is built on rock. But again, in the exact same spot. Everything is in the same spot. These amendments are minor, and we took responsibility and tried to find a path to comply with the process, but it was very expensive, and it was very time consuming and reflected the same process as a complete rezoning to the property. We asked a few times for a way to make a simpler amendment for such minor changes, but we're told we had to go through the rigorous process. Our minor amendments are not safety or health concerns. The home survived being hit by a tornado last year. My simple drawing is to show the simple situation that is resulting in requiring extreme remedy that appears to me a waste of staff time and a lot of resources. Looking at the other properties in this agenda where they've built entire cabins highlights how minor our amendments are and should not be treated with such an extreme consequence. I plead with the board to direct staff on amending these minor changes. I really appreciate the time that you have allowed me to speak on this. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Directors, are there any questions for the the speaker? Okay. Oh, Director McMahon. Not the speaker? Okay. Thank you very much. I think we'll return you to the gallery. Okay, directors, are there any questions of staff regarding this property? Director Lee, it's your area. I'll look to you.
Thank you, Chair. I note in the write-up that a building permit was applied for and issued. Therefore, all of these changes would have been documented under the building permit. So I'm a little confused as to, once a building permit's been issued, it should be, the changes should follow what the building permit says, and the building inspections called for at each stage. I'm just asking if I have that right. Is that what should have happened?
Thank you for the question. Yes, all work should proceed in accordance with the approved plans, and all required inspections are to be undertaken. If an applicant chooses to vary what was approved, they need to apply for an amendment, and it must be accepted by the building official prior to proceeding.
And if I'm following this correctly, that didn't happen.
That is correct.
Seems pretty straightforward then.
Thank you. Director McMahon.
And just, it says in the report that inspections did not occur. That's the case?
Work was completed without required inspections, yes.
Thank you. Okay. I do see that the owner has raised his hand. No? Okay. Okay, thank you. Directors, how would you like to proceed? Director Lee?
I see that I have to accept the recommendations recommendation number 1 on page 30 of our agenda package. So I'd like to make a motion to accept that recommendation.
Thank you, and I've got a seconder for that. And just a reminder for property owners that this is not intended to be punitive. It's just to ensure that in the event that the property is looking to change hands in the future or what have you, that any buyers of properties are aware that there are compliance issues that have been recorded in the past. There are some jurisdictions that have stepped it up a notch. I read even just this morning that the city of Surrey has actually gotten some demolition orders. And this is definitely not something like that. So I don't see any hands up though from my directors, so I will call the question. This is voting all directors. All those in favor? Any opposed? Director Bax is opposed. That motion is carried. All right. Item number 2. This is District Lot 2389, Electoral Area B. Is there anybody online wishing to speak to this? No? Okay. Director Gabius, did you have any questions or comments or?
No questions. Want to move recommendation number 2 on page 31.
Thank you. And I've got a seconder for that. Do the rest of my directors have any questions or comments or discussion on the motion? If not, I will call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion is carried. Thank you. And property number 3 today, 7799 Hart Road, also in Area B. Director Gabius.
Yeah, thank you very much, Chair. I'm going to move the recommendation number 3 on page 31.
Thank you. Forgot to check. Do I have anybody wishing to speak? Okay, thank you. And I've got a seconder for that. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Kennett.
Thank you.
All right. Next up, we're going to move on to item 6.6, which is Universal Metering Phase 3, Large Meter Supply Award. And Manager Waldorf. The floor is yours if you've got anything you wish to introduce.
Thank you, Chair. Just a quick intro. The report before the board today is just requesting the award for a supply contract for the larger meters in support of the Universal Metering Project Phase 3. They're the only licensed distributor for these particular products. And so it's a recommendation for a sole source direct award. And we hope to have them delivered in December in support of the install of the large vaults that go along with it.
That's great news. I guess my only question, and apologies for sort of springing this on you, are we expecting this to perhaps be the last of the contracts relating to meter installs?
Almost. There is a report that's going to come before board for the installation of these meters and the large vaults as one package, and that's the last component of the meter project. We hope to have that awarded in December and complete the work by the end of January.
Great news. Thank you very much. All right, directors, do I have any questions or motions? This is voting all directors as a weighted vote. Director Gabius?
Thank you, Chair. Very straightforward. I'll move the recommendations on page 36.
Thank you, and I've got a seconder for that. I don't see any hands up, so I will call the question. All those in favor? Thank you, that is carried. All right, next up, item 6.7, mattress recycling contract amendment. And we'll turn this over to Manager Sol.
Thank you. So before the board today is an amendment to our current mattress recycling contract, which is different from the contract approved earlier this year, the new one that'll take effect on January 1st. And the decision before the board is to amend the contract by $16,000 or roughly 1 month's worth of mattresses for recycling to cover off the remaining need of this contract. And staff are available to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Seems pretty straightforward to me. This is to bridge us to the next contract. Directors, any questions? Director Stanford?
I was just going to move the motion as presented.
Perfect, thank you very much. And I've got seconders for that, a couple of them. So any further discussion? If not, I will call the question. This is voting all directors, weighted vote. All those in favor? Thank you, that is carried. All right, thank you, Manager Soul. Next up, alternative approval process for the Langdale Wellfield Construction Project. Final report. I'll turn it over to our corporate officer.
Thank you, Chair. So the alternative approval process to seek elector approval for long-term borrowing in the amount of $13.18 million to fund the Langdale Wellfield Construction Project has concluded, and the results are provided in the report before you. Elector approval has been obtained since less than 10% of the eligible electors in the area submitted forms to oppose the borrowing. So the board may now proceed with adoption of the loan authorization bylaw, which has been brought forward on this agenda. And after a 30-day quashing period, we will apply for a certificate of approval from the province, and once granted, borrowing for the project may be initiated. Staff are happy to answer any questions the board may have.
Great, thank you very much. It is just here for information because the bylaw follows later in the agenda. Directors, any questions? Director McMahon?
If I remember correctly, we are approved to borrow up to, whatever it was, 13 million. But we have applied for a grant. So it's possible that we may need to borrow less. When will we know?
CAO?
Indications from the grantors is sometime in the spring, but that could be delayed. And so we'll apprise the board as soon as we are made aware.
Thank you very much. All right, any other questions from my directors? I'm not seeing any. It's a clear report. You know, looking at the number of results that came back there on page 175 in total, I think that's a pretty clear signal. You know, if we were close to the threshold, it would be a different conversation, but I think it's quite clear what's being presented here, so thank you for that. All right, next up, we have item 7.1, which is communications. So this is UBCM dated November 19th regarding Bill M216, the Professional Reliance Act. And normally we don't put correspondence onto an agenda this quickly. We only saw it on Monday, and so we added it as an amended item, but the deadline for submissions is December 2nd. So Director Gabius, did you want to speak to this?
Yes, thank you. We had a meeting with Geraldine Kirk, who's the electoral area representative at UBCM, and President Ramsey gave us an update on all things UBCM, and that was one of the big points, really looking for some feedback to the province. And what I would like, if staff has any comments on how this bill would impact the organization, I would love to hear it. I'm still trying to wrap my head around it.
Thank you very much. I don't know if staff are prepared to comment, but I do know that staff have contemplated it behind the scenes. So CAO, I don't know if there was anything you wanted to add.
Staff are keeping a close eye on what our peers are doing. And so a lot of staff have been in conversations with our respective peers regarding this particular bill, our planners, engineers, et cetera. And so we are understanding that many local governments and regional districts are providing letters, as UBCM is encouraging to the province, in concern to the bill that's proposed.
Thank you very much. Director Gabius? Oh, was there any? Yeah, Director White, go ahead.
We'll be responding at the town. It's a real huge concern. Yeah, and I mean, I think there's there are some very good responses already that are out there. The mayor of Maple Ridge sent one out that was distributed widely. UBCM's obviously done some, and I really don't see anywhere in there where the SCRD's interests might be a bit different than these other municipalities. It's the headlining piece that everybody's bringing up is that this is, you know, another, it's a real, I'll try not to use some words, but a reduction, I'll say, in local autonomy. I mean, at the very end of the day, we need to be able some autonomy to say, here's a a situation that it doesn't even matter if, like, part of this bill, this proposed bill suggests that local government should or would be questioning the integrity of individual professionals, which is not really the issue so much. It's more that in some situations we need to really be sure about environmental situations, especially. And this has happened in Gibson's, where we need the autonomy to be able to request peer reviews, and sometimes those peer reviews will have a completely different take on something that the other professional than the professionals paid for by the developers have. So in those cases, then I think it's really just because that happens. That just shows how needed this is. So I would hope that the SCRD joins in with UBCM and other local governments in opposing this. I've contacted RMLA about it. I've contacted the Minister of State for Communities about it, and it's a serious concern. Yeah.
Thank you. Any other comments from directors? Director Gabius?
Yeah, thank you, Director White, for that. Yeah, and I also saw, like, West Coast Environmental Law has also issued a statement, and I know that in my community there's concerns that some developers can kind of shop around for the professional that will give them the opinion that they want, and so it's nice to have that guardrail here, but so that would exacerbate, I think, that issue. I'm wondering next steps, if we want to provide some feedback to the province, do we need to put a motion forward?
I think if we wanted to provide feedback before that December 2nd
That needs to
deadline, we would
happen
need a
now.
motion today to that effect, which
I need to correct myself. I'm sorry. It was a Port Moody letter that I read. It wasn't Maple Ridge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Director McMahon.
Yeah, I don't think it has to be an elaborate letter. I think we can simply say that the concerns have already been well expressed by other local governments, and we fully support them.
Would you like to make that motion?
Sure, I'll make that motion.
Okay, that the SCRD board provide correspondence to UBCM in opposition to Bill M216. Is that one directly to the province? Okay.
Yes, to the
Okay.
province.
Thank you. And that UBCM be copied. Okay. You seconding that? Thank you. I've got a seconder for that. Is there any discussion on the motion? Director Paul?
Thank you. Can we also maybe provide it to the nation to get their support for this too? Because it doesn't reach that level for it. It goes through SNGD, so it's a little bit slower. But trying to figure out if, like, it affects the suite rate, so.
For sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep, that's a good point. Thank you for bringing it up. Okay, then I will call the question. All those in favor? Thank you, that is carried. All right. That is item 7.1. Next up, we have item 8.1, which is a motion for which notice has been given. And this is a motion from Director Bax. Director Bax, would you like to introduce your motion?
I certainly would. So let me read the motion out, and then we can have some discussion. Whereas the highway bridge over Chapman Creek is part of our critical infrastructure for mobility on the Sunshine Coast, and whereas there is no other land route available should the Chapman Bridge fail, effectively cutting the coast in two. Therefore, be it resolved that the SCRD emergency program explore the process for the board to advocate to MOTT and the Canadian Armed Forces to store a prefabricated modular steel bridge on the Sunshine Coast for rapid deployment in time of need, and further that the board make an official request to all the appropriate agencies to coordinate this action to take place. So there's an emergency program called the Lentis program that would be deployed to construct a bridge like this. There are people here on the Sunshine Coast that are capable. The thinking behind this is that in the event of the loss of our bridge here at Chapman Creek, waiting for the deployment from a position in the lower mainland we would lose valuable hours because in the event of the loss of that bridge, basically the southern half of the coast is cut off from the hospital and the northern half of the coast is cut off from access to Vancouver. And so I think it's very imperative that one of these bridges is stored here for immediate deployment should an emergency come about.
Okay. Thank you, Director Bax. You've read the motion. Is that you making the motion?
I am making that motion, yes.
Thank you, Director Inkster. I assume that's you seconding it? Okay. Did you want to speak to it as well? Go ahead.
Thanks, Chair. I've when we start talking about a lot of different things, climate change, but also the resultant issues accompanied with that, lots of water in the winter months and the risk of fire in the summer months, I've been pushing for preparedness, witnessed by yourself and myself going up to the Okanagan on the fire issue. But on the water issue, I also have been worried and about the Chapman crossing. I've often talked about that being a weak point, hospital and then connecting south for food and stuff. So if we can, through our motion, get something located, I think Director Beck said airport in his motion? I think that's where he said?
Not in the motion.
No? Oh, it's not in the motion? Okay, so, I mean, that's probably where something like that may have to sit. So that's just some discussions with the DOS, and then it has to be covered so that it doesn't degrade. I think we need this plan for the Sunshine Coast. We only have that one bridge, and by the way, it's an old bridge, and there's a date on the columns, and so I'm worried about the bridge as well. But it's in fairly good shape, but we may need to replace that as well. The province, hope they don't ask the district to do that. Anyway, I certainly support a second bridge that's needed. One thing that we should consider, hopefully in support of it, is that we remember that if there's enough water that knocks out a bridge, it may also put part of Davis Bay Highway underwater. So let's consider that and what kind of bridge we bring in. Thanks.
Thank you, Director Inkster. And yeah, the timeliness of this is quite good. I know that Director Bax brought this motion forward, having not really spoken to anybody ahead of time about it. But, you know, it was an advocacy item for the District of Sechelt at UBCM. We went and saw EMCR about exactly this sort of a thing. And they told us at the time that there would be funding to study the problem, but not for actual infrastructure. And so, you know, last week during our Ministry of Transportation meeting, we raised, again, the idea of a second crossing or at least an emergency backup. And Mott does seem willing to collaborate on something. So I think that this motion is quite timely. Director White and then Director McMahon.
Just a question on the motion. The emphasis is to store the bridge. Okay, so where's the bridge coming from?
If I may? Sure. I did some research on this, and there are several of these R-Crow bridges in storage. They're the top-level steel prefabricated bridges that are used in such emergencies that are rated for public use once they're installed. Other bridges that they use through the military are not rated for public use. But they are stored within the properties that are controlled by the Ministry of Transport and Transportation at various locations throughout the province. And these locations are normally kept out of the public realm for security reasons, I imagine. But that's all the information that I could gather. And so as far as I know, there's not one on the Sunshine Coast, but that could be part of the ask from staff when they dig into this. And just the fact that we are a community that is in need of such a thing, I believe that time will be of the essence should we lose that bridge, and that it should be stored here.
Thank you.
I hear the reasons. I'm just, it might be helpful to add the words provide and store. Is that like, that sounds like it's more what this motion is too. I mean, when I first read it without the context that Director Bax is providing, I kind of thought, well, are we just asking for them to provide a space that
Right.
maybe a privately donated bridge or something the SCRD would pay for, or the District of Sechelt would provide, or where's the bridge coming from? I don't think is answered clearly in the wording, and I hear but maybe adding provide would help.
If I may, I believe these bridges are property of either the Ministry of Transport and Transportation or property of Canadian Armed Forces, and it's the forces that are trained in the deployment of them through their Lentis program, and so the motion isn't. I didn't craft the motion in order to acquire a bridge so much as have one available to us should we need it. So as far as, I don't think that the Ministry of Transport is going to give us a bridge, but they may store one here on the Sunshine Coast for the use by our community should we need it. But I think the control of it will still remain within the purview of the Ministry of Transportation.
And the original motion that was provided by Director Bax was a lot more detailed, a lot more granular. And sort of in working with Director Bax, I encouraged him to sort of pull back from the specific details because I didn't want any one little detail to be a stumbling block in an advocacy effort. And so, from that perspective, provide perhaps follows naturally through the process that we're seeking. Director McMahon. And then
Thank you. I mean, the vulnerability of the Chapman Creek crossing is well understood. It is a big problem. But we are jumping straight from the problem to the solution here. I don't know that the best solution is to have a bridge stored on the Sunshine Coast. I'm not an expert. If the motion was to support the District of Sechelt's advocacy efforts with the province to prepare for the contingency of losing our bridge, something like that, then I would be 100% in support. But I don't know that it's a useful idea to pile up a bridge somewhere and have it stored on the Sunshine Coast. That may not be the best solution. Well, in the long term, the best solution would be an alternate crossing. I think everybody could probably agree on that, to have a contingency. But so I'm not in support of this particular motion.
Okay, thank you, Director McMahon. Director Stanford.
A little facetiously, if I knew that it was so easy to get a bridge, maybe I should be asking for a bridge to Gambier rather than a port. But I think the intent of this motion is to at least advance trying a solution. It's maybe not perfect, but I think it's worth exploring, so I'll be supporting this.
Thank you. Director White.
I'll after having asked my point of clarification there, I speak in support of the motion because I can see it's been a lot of thought has gone into the option, and it does say explore the process for the board to advocate. Like it's got a lot of. It's not saying that this is a silver bullet. It's asking our emergency program to explore what this would look like and whether we should be. How we should advocate for it, which I support. I think it makes sense. It's something our emergency program should be looking at.
Thank you. Are there any other comments from directors? Any discussion? Oh, Director Lee, thank you. Your hand is tiny up in the corner and the same color as your background, so go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna start doing a verbal hand. The idea seems like a pretty good one, except storing a prefabricated bridge on the Sunshine Coast, someone has to put it in, someone has to have the equipment. Are we asking them to have the equipment here as well? I think we need to get our SCRD emergency program to explore the process and the practicality of doing this before we start advocating it for it. It seems to me there's a lot of logistics to pick up a bridge, throw it across the creek and hook it up on both ends. I kind of see a convoy of army trucks coming, one with a bridge and one with a big cat. Anyways, there's more than just having a bridge in order to put it where it needs to be. And I don't know the practicality of telling the armed forces what they should be doing as well. So I think we need to understand the process behind that as well. They're federal, the other one's provincial. So that's my thoughts. I think we need to do some research before we start advocating.
Thank you, Director Lee. I will emphasize that it does say, therefore be it resolved that the SCRD emergency program explore the process for the board to advocate. So this really is first step, high level. This is not that the SCRD emergency program demand that Mott and the Canadian Armed Forces provide a bridge tomorrow. And so I think, from a advocacy perspective, this might even be a conversation that takes us years to complete. But did you have a follow-up?
Yes, that's the reason is because the last line says official request to all the appropriate agencies. That would be, to me, that would read Mott and the Canadian Armed Forces. So it sounds, the way I read it, we've already made the decision. So.
Okay. Director Lee, is that a request to sever that last clause? Because we could just vote on that separately if you'd like.
I think that would be easier for me to support if we did.
Okay. Thank you. Director Inkster.
Yeah. What more can we say? I look forward to the exploration. I'm going to support this, and I'm going to always argue for this, and I hope it passes. And I hope we can do a quick exploration, and then I certainly would love to go with the chair to talk to whoever we have to talk to put some pieces in place to assure the transportation security of the Sunshine Coast for the next 50 years. Thanks.
Thank you. I don't see any other hands up. So there was the request to sever just that last and further that the board make an official request. So we're going to be voting on the whereas and whereas, the therefore be it resolved. Just the first paragraph is what we're voting on. All those in favor? Thank you. Any opposed? Director McMahon opposed. That motion is carried. And then so for the second clause, and further that the board make an official request to all appropriate agencies to coordinate this action to take place. Director Lee, I hear what you're saying. Is there any other discussion? Director Gabios.
Yeah, thank you. And just turning to Director Bax to get some clarity as to, was this meant to be now, or is this to follow the exploration of the process?
Well, I'll try not to take too long. Excuse me? Yeah. So the point of this is to be prepared. I'm an old Boy Scout, and I've been a firefighter, and I understand some of the risks that our community faces, and I want to try to mitigate those risks. We were talking about, we need bridges, we need people to put bridges in. There are people on the Sunshine Coast with equipment and capability to install these things. We don't have to sit here and wait in fear and have somebody come and rescue us. There are lots of people here on the coast that can rescue us. We need the equipment. We need the parts.
That wasn't the question.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Agree with the sentiment, 100%. What I'm trying to get clarification on is the timing of this. that we make an official request. And also, I'd like to know who the appropriate agencies are. Are we talking about the Canadian Armed Forces and MOTT? Just some clarification, not.
It's my understanding that the bridges are within the possession of MOTT, and that the armed forces would be in command of the installations, should they be available.
Okay, thank you very much. Oh, yes, and the timing of this request, because if we're just gonna, I think where you're getting at is if we're gonna just go forward and make the request for this to take place, why are we asking for staff to spend time coming back with the process?
I'm not opposed to the severing of this. If staff recommends that we, through our advocacy, to get in touch with all the appropriate agencies, then that is a decision that we can make at a later date.
Thank you. Okay, that was the core of the question, so thank you for that. I don't see any other hands up, so I will call the question then on that second clause. All those in favor? Whoa, hang on a sec. This is and further that the board make an official request to all the appropriate agencies to coordinate this action to take place. All those in favor? I've got 3 in favor, those opposed? And that is defeated. All right. From a process perspective, yeah? Yep. Okay. Thank you, folks. So that concludes item 8.1. We're going to move on to item 9.1, which is the Langdale Wellfield Project Loan Authorization Bylaw number 777, 2025. This is for adoption. Directors, can I have a motion for adoption of bylaw number 777, 2025? Moved by Director Stamford, seconded by Director Paul. This is all directors as a weighted vote. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion is carried. Thank you very much. Next up, we're going to go to directors' reports. And I'm proposing we'll start at that end of the table with Director Bax. Maybe we'll work our way down, and then we'll go to Director Lee, and then we'll go to Director Stamford and Paul. So, Director Bax. It's okay if you
Thank
don't
you.
have anything.
Are you in a hurry? I'm not. I look forward to Christmas break. Thank you. Nothing to report.
Thank you for that succinct report. Director Inkster.
I hope Director Bax continues to give us that Christmas present until at least the new year of his brevity. Nevertheless, we had a community forest open house yesterday, and a number of directors were there, I think. I know that Director Bax was. I saw some pictures. I'm not hoping maybe Gavious went. No? Director Gavious. Anyway, Chair Toth and myself were there, and I'm encouraging the directors, if they do that again, and they will, to go to those things, because the community forest is, as we all know, does a lot of their work on many parts of the coast, and is now taking on the responsibility of fire mitigation in some areas, which is a really good thing that they've done. Once again, something that a few of us have been encouraging, to deal with some fire mitigation in certain parts of the coast, although there's many more areas that have cut down and wood that needs to be cleaned up around Seashelt, Gibson's, rural areas, et cetera. Just wanted to also mention the Light the Lights is coming up in a week and a half in Seashelt, and just like the open house for the community forest, I encourage all the directors to come to Seashelt for the Light the Lights at Rockwood, because it's such a nice building, and then the actual parade that follows that in downtown Seashelt soon after. It's on the Saturday, I think, in a week and a half. Thanks, Chair.
December the 6th. Pretty much events all day. Director White?
I'm tempted to follow up Director Bax's precedent, but I'll just say we're working hard on finishing up our OCP and zoning bylaw. It's very complicated doing 2 at one time. I don't recommend it. And I'm putting forward some recommendations regarding that challenge at our next meeting. Councillors are listening a lot to the community and bringing forward changes. It's a really kind of democratic process with community input informing councillors to bring forward changes. And that makes it challenging for staff and the consultant, but they've been extremely accommodating, and it's going well. Yeah. So it's not going to be done by the end of the year. That was the initial schedule, but we have until early 2026 to finish it up. So that's the focus at the town right now.
I was thoroughly impressed to see the sheer number of motions that were being made on some of this stuff when you're talking about like, actually, no, we want this property to be this instead and this property to be that. That's extremely granular. And
Yep.
Yeah, I was not, I was surprised to see that level of granularity coming from council. Director McMahon.
Yes, I don't actually have a lot. I have been to many meetings. I'm not going to tell you about all of them. I'd just like to express a thank you. My APC had their last meeting of this year, and I would like to thank the 10 community volunteers who have been participating in my APC. They've really done a wonderful job.
Great. Thank you very much. Director Gabius.
Thank you, Chair. Some really great positive things have happened in the past 2 weeks. So first, there was the official handing of the key, the giant key, from the SCRD to the Half Moon Bay Community Association. They have now taken on the lease at Cooper's Green Hall, and they're revved up and ready to go, and they're really excited. There was such a great event. You were there. Thank you for coming. Great turnout, lots of positivity, great smiles. People are excited, and I really think that it's the start of a new chapter for Half Moon Bay. I really truly believe that. I think it's going to be an amazing addition to our community. I really want to thank staff who's done a lot of heavy lifting on this, and of course the community association who's also been super busy trying to make this happen. And I'm so grateful for everybody stepping up. And I also want to thank the board for believing in that vision and for supporting it. So I really, from the bottom of my heart, thank you. And then they made the front page of the Coast Reporter, which was amazing. And they'll have their first event on the 29th, dance event, if you want to join. Also attended the Long Service Awards last Tuesday, and that's so great. I love attending these, get to know a bit more about the staff, about their journey here at the SCRD, and great to see people recognized for their contribution, 5 years, 10 years plus. And I was really, I thought it was really cool that one of the employees that was celebrated started his career at the SCRD as a lifeguard and is now in the IT department. And that's so great that we have an organization where there's opportunities to grow, there's professional development, there's talent is being identified, and there's all these opportunities for people to really have amazing careers here. And I thought it was so cool. So congratulations to everybody who got their long service award. And also there was the open house budget on the 19th at Seaside Center. Lots of signs and lots of good discussions. It was great to move around and stop at every table and talk to people there. Couldn't stay until the very end, so hopefully there's more people who came afterwards, and it would be, I'm looking forward to hearing the results from the online engagement and from that event as well. And then as I told the board earlier, there was a meeting, the UBCM EA rep had a nightly meeting with, unfortunately, Minister Boyle couldn't attend, but Minister Anderson was there, and there was some ministry staff there. Corey Ramsey was there as well for an update. And it was an opportunity for area directors to bring up some concerns to the ministers. And yeah, that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, I'm going to go online to Director Lee. Yeah, I'm calling on you, Director Lee.
I was busy looking for the right buttons. Thank you, Chair. I wanted to mention the financial planning on November 19th at the Seaside Center, the budget. It was very well done by our staff, and they took the time to fill me in on a few things, like the recycling and all that sorting. It was very interesting. I also attended the Long Service Awards November 18th, and my observation was that there's a lot of really good people we have here, and they're making the SCRD a career choice for them. And it was very inspiring to see how interested they were in doing that. I was happy with that one. And then I'd like to close with the fact that PODS is having an AGM November 29th. So if you're interested in being a director for PODS, this is your chance. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Director Lee. Director Stanford.
Thank you, Chair. I don't have a lot to update, but I did attend the coffee and cookies. The cookies were delicious. Budget in Seashell. I wasn't there for a long time, but it was interesting. We actually had somebody from Gambier come by to ask questions. So other than that, I also would like to take the time to thank my Advisory Planning Commission for all the work they've done, because often they have to do it without my my presence there, as often conflict with that particular meeting, but they do a great job of going through and really responding well to the questions. So I hope to see them back. I don't want to lose them. And other than that, I've just been mainly doing other meetings for Islands Trust items. So I'll keep passing it on. Thank you.
Thank you. Director Paul.
Thank you. Mine's mostly boring with normal governance stuff, but we did have one group approach us that I knew of but didn't know about. The Arrowhead Clubhouse in Seashelt is going to be approaching all local governments because of some funding cuts. But they brought their program to us, and gave us some information that I didn't know the details of. They're sometimes the only help that some of our residents that have severe mental health issues deal with on a frontline thing, and treat them like the people they are and deserve to be, with having responsibilities. The members, there are over 300 members that rotate in and out as they need services, are there to do the cooking, the cleaning, and they have committees that decide what they're going to do for everything and who's going to do stuff, and they take turns in it, and it's a very inclusive program that they serve now. Have been able to get funding contracts to not charge the homeless money for the meals, and they're serving over 11,000 meals a year. They're only open Monday to Friday, 9 till 3. The person that's in charge of it, Foy, is an incredible person. I was able to donate a bunch of computers to them that they need for their residents and stuff, whatever, and provide a bunch of stuff now. But it was amazing, and it just reminds me that the Community Services Division is pretty big and provides so many critical stuff that's obviously handed off from the province to lower local governments to provide that for residents, and it's pretty key. It was pretty eye-opening. They have a very open policy, and he details everything from like every incident down to the thing, and is very successful. If you guys have a chance to go visit them, they say they're always welcoming of elected officials to come in, share a meal, and share some time with it. So I'm trying to find some time for it, but it was very amazing. It seems to be very worthwhile, and it's just a good reminder coming up to the holidays of the amazing people that we have on the coast to do this kind of work, and sometimes they get overshadowed or forgotten. So it's always a good time to shine a light on it, of the programs that are working. So it was amazing. It really touched me and showed me the work that they do with the little resources. So it was pretty amazing. Thanks.
Thank you, Director Paul. Arrowhead is one of those long time community programs that I want to say it was probably 25 years ago when they were still on Cowrie Street in the house that they had there. My dad was one of their longtime volunteers, and other than scouting, it was probably the number one it's probably where I spent most of my volunteer time. And so that I'm glad you mentioned them, and I'm glad they're so inclusive and so welcoming to everybody. I don't have anything to report that hasn't already been touched on by everybody, so I think I will just leave it there. The only thing I will say is the December 6th Light the Lights. Light the Lights at Rockwood is at 5 p.m. And then the Light the Lights parade through downtown is at 5:45. So make sure to come check that out. It's fun for the whole family. And with that, we have no new business, but we do have an in-camera section. So I look for a motion that the public be excluded from attendance at the meeting in accordance with section 91A, C, and K of the Community Charter. Moved and seconded. All those in favor? Thank you. That's carried. So we're going to go in camera. Are there any questions? Nope. So we'll just take a couple minutes to turn the room over. Welcome back to the regular board meeting for Thursday, November 27th. We're done our in-camera session. It's 2:58. I would look for a motion to adjourn the meeting, please. Moved, seconded, all those in favor? And that is carried. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you at the next one.